The Minnesota Wild.
Wild.
In NHL history, no team has been in this kind of cap hell. Because even if you had bad contracts, at least they could put on skates. The Minnesota Wild can't even say that. And yet, they are not acting like it at all. And it all comes down to Bill Guerin. And I want to get into that in a second. Because I think what the Wild are doing is pretty cool. And they're one of the teams to watch this year, which is such a departure from the Chuck Fletcher years, right, Steve?
Yep. And you know why? Because he stunk.
What's the over-under on points for the Wild this year at Sports Interaction, Jesse?
99.5.
They had 113 last year. Couple of key losses. But I want to bring up Bill Guerin for a
Who'd they
second.
lose, Adam?
Cam Talbot.
Hey! Where is he now?
Ottawa.
There you go.
Injured. And they also lost Kevin Fiala. But I want to start with the Cam Talbot thing because I don't remember. You can be forgiven for forgetting this quote, but there's sometimes NHL GMs are usually so boring that I love when Bill Guerin speaks because he's not. And basically, Cam Talbot's agent came out and said, listen, Bill Guerin's going to have to make a decision. You know, what's he want to do here? And so the reporters asked Bill, they're like, Bill, do you feel like you have to make a decision? And he said, I don't have to do fucking shit. I'm paraphrasing.
Negotiating with him was stink.
So he said,
Is that a quote?
Basically, yeah, he's like, I don't have to do shit. I'm sending. So
like he's getting interrogated by the cop. I don't have to do shit.
I don't have to do shit, man. He said Cam Talbot's under contract.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
So he'll do what we need him to do. And it's funny because obviously they traded him to Ottawa because Cam Talbot wanted to be the starter. Well, Marc-Andre Fleury's the starter in Minnesota now.
Noted Alan Walsh Quiet.
That's correct.
Who's not old.
So let's start in net here. Marc-Andre Fleury.
Philip Gustafson.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
I like him. I actually do.
Is another veteran goaltender. But obviously, it seemed to me anyway that Guerin wanted a platoon of Talbot, Marc-Andre Fleury, and it just seems that Talbot was not down.
Yeah.
Well, okay. How long is Fleury signed for?
2 more years, I think.
2 more years. I mean, it's very obvious what they're doing here. Fleury is, I mean, they're still going to be a good team for this little stint of cap hell. When they come out of cap hell, we'll see what Fleury wants to do with the rest of his career.
He'll be like 40 when they come out of cap hell. It's 3 more years.
We'll see what Philip Gustafson turns into, but it seems obvious that the Wild are just holding the fort for Hunter Jones and more so Jesper Wallstedt.
Right.
Because he's going to be big. He's also 19. So
yeah,
those it doesn't quite line up.
They're holding the fort pretty well. The loss of Fiala hurts, but this is a great team. Like you've got Brodin, Dumba, Spurgeon, and Middleton as your top 4 defensemen. Marc-Andre Fleury is your goalie. He just won the Vezina like less than a year and a half ago. Yeah. Kirill Kaprizov is on your team, so anyway, you're laughing. Eriksson Ek is your second line center. You've got some really great talent here, and frankly, they're coming off, like I said, what was it, 113 points. So even if they fell 10 points, they're still in the playoffs.
And there's someone who I earmarked for my fantasy team, and I forgot to draft, and instead I picked Tyler Seguin. I'm very upset. He better be great this year. You could get him in the last round if you haven't done your draft yet. Matt Boldy.
Really?
Matt Boldy.
Why Matt Boldy?
Because he was friggin' amazing last year. Amazing! And they didn't even have him for the full year. They called him up and, all right, let's give the kid a chance. Let's see what he can do. And what he can do is like be one of your most effective offensive players and score it. I think it was a point a game.
Mm-hmm.
It was like who is it? Second in points per game behind Kaprizov, probably.
No, would have been Fiala. And
Fiala as well.
That starts where I've got some issues with the team. Like Adam, you mentioned Joel Eriksson Ek is their second line center. Well, their first line center is Ryan Hartman, which isn't great. And
he had a decent season last
year. Good year.
And that's also where I have problems with. Yeah. Hartman had a career high 65 points. Previous high 31. Eriksson Ek had a career high season 49 points. Previous high 30. Frederick Gaudreau had a career high 44 points. Previous high 10.
Freddie Hockey.
You had a bunch of guys overperforming, and then they took away the second leading scorer and didn't really replace him. So I have trouble visualizing where all of the offense is going to come on. This is a playoff team, but it's definitely not as strong a team as last year.
See, I think Fiala, and there's an argument to be made that Fiala's numbers were pumped up by playing with Kaprizov. I think the linchpin of their offense is Kirill Kaprizov, and he is still there. And those guys are going to overperform because he's there. If he stays healthy, I think this team is actually a heck of a lot stronger than people give it credit for.
I believe he was listed as day-to-day this preseason with an injury.
Season's toast.
Well,
Better change my prediction.
I drafted
But
him
the
in
thing is,
fantasy.
you got to think about it, right? Like, who's driving the play? And I don't think anyone's going to deny it's Kaprizov. He's a top 10 player in the
What
league.
happens when he's not on the ice?
I mean, they seem to manage okay.
What about the rest of the team?
Well, they managed okay last year.
I mean, we gave the Dallas Stars crap for the way they win games. And I think the Minnesota Wild, they've gotten away from their identity in recent years.
What's that, boring and hateful?
They've been scoring way too many goals. And I think they're going to dial that back a little bit.
Interesting.
That's not fair. Yeah, it's a good point that they could switch to a more defensive-minded hockey because the offense, unless you're expecting more career highs and like the trajectories to only go up, then you might be limited in offensive end. You play a different kind of system, and it works.
Predicting. So Jesse's having a conversation that I think a lot of people are having right now, and I think people are missing a few factors. There were so many players last year who had career seasons where you look at the rest of their career and you go, there's no evidence that this was ever there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because scoring skyrocketed league-wide last year. So going into this season, because progress isn't linear, how the hell do you predict what's going to happen? Is scoring going to go down league-wide this season? Is it going to continue to rise? Is it going to stay the same, but the guy just won't score as much? Is he going to score even more? To find out where guys like Hartman and Eriksson Ek are going to end up, like, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck figuring that out, because I have no idea.
It's our job here to try and predict.
I'm predicting that this
Cool,
is
and
going to
I'm
be...
saying good luck.
I think this team is going to... And, it's no surprise that the team is over 100 points last year. They're a very good team.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they're actually surprised with how good they are. I think they know they're up against it. I think Guerin knows they're up against it, and I think that's the mindset. And when you get that into a team, I know we're talking about intangibles here, so please forgive me for a second. You get that into a team's brain, like, people don't think we can. It's like Tom Brady. People don't think we can. He's won like 18 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People are always doubting Tom Brady.
Yeah, he's got to trick himself into that.
Nothing's ever worked out.
You know what I mean? Because like when Tampa Bay was really good a couple years ago and they won the Super Bowl, he's like, yeah, people kept doubting us. And everybody's like, literally nobody doubted you. Like, you were great. It was great the whole year and you won. Okay, cool. But I actually think people are doubting the Wild this year. And you look at the cap and you understand why, and you lose Fiala. And Jesse pointed it out. There's a lot of guys who could regress to the mean, and that's totally fair. However, I feel like this team can win by scoring, it can win by playing defense, and it can win the odd night when your goalie will steal a game. And that is a dangerous combination. Hart?
I didn't say he was too old to steal games. I said he's stealing games and he's old. Is what I
said. Wow. Ageist Steve Dangle over here.
Okay, how many times have you heard Adam and I and be like, oh, you're such dads. He's 3 years older than us.
True.
Old.
He's got 3 times as many kids, too.
And cups.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
Actually, that implies we have a cup.
Yeah.
No.
Can't multiply 0.
No, you're right.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You
I
just
know.
get 0.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What are the chances this team appears in the top 10 of the top 32 teams in the the only 32 teams in the NHL?
Ooh.
Are they a top 10 team?
Oh, yeah.
I would say 30% chance of finishing top 10.
30%. That's pretty good.
That's all right.
Yeah. You're not a big believer, huh?
Eh.
You guys are surprising me. Okay, where do
Yeah?
you guys... Okay,
Yeah.
where do you have them in the division?
I have them third.
I have them third as well.
You have them third.
It's not a matter of we don't think they're a good team. It's just that there's a lot of flaws here if you really count all the chickens.
I don't know about flaws. I'm going to call them challenges. And also, where did that come from?
You guys never heard that phrase?
No, because you just made it up on the spot, Jesse.
It's a very common phrase in the farming community.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's how it's used, though.
I don't think that's even a phrase.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
No one's ever used that as a
I
turn
don't
of phrase.
think you know what you're talking
I have the
about.
Wild at second. I am all the way in on what Bill Guerin's doing, and I actually think not only are they going to be good through this dead cap era of theirs, but they're going to come out of this and be a perennial Stanley Cup favorite.
Wow.
That's what I think. Minnesota Wild, all the way on with board with that program.
If you haven't done your fantasy draft yet, put Matt Boldy on your watch list.